In the heart of Manitoba, music isn't just a sound, it's a lifeline. Behind the Music takes you on a journey through the lives of local artists, revealing the raw passion that fuels their creativity. From the cramped basements where they hone their craft, to the electrifying moments on stage, we explore their inspirations and the struggles they face along the way. Each story is unique, yet they all share a common thread, the relentless pursuit of their dreams. Discover how these artists channel their experiences into powerful melodies and witness the transformative power of music as it connects us all. Join us as we celebrate the voices that shape our community and inspire us to keep pushing forward.
There he is. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Hello, sir. How's it going?
Good, man. Good, man. How are you?
Oh, not too bad, man. Just a nice little busy day of some lessons and stuff. So got that all wrapped up, and here we are.
Nice.
Yeah, man. What's new and exciting these days?
Not much. Formed a new band.
Oh, did you? Good for you, man.
Yeah, and then, well, I've been working with Guitar Tricks. You've ever heard of it?
Sorry, what was it?
Guitar Tricks. It's like online kind of like lessons for stuff.
Cool. Oh, okay.
So I've been working for that because I can't make the drive back and forth for new baby.
Yeah. Well, congrats for the new baby too, man. That's pretty amazing. Holy smokes.
Well, yeah, he'll be a year old Saturday.
Oh, wow. It's been that long, eh? Holy man.
Oh, yeah, man. Other than that, typical busy.
Ah, good. Right on, man.
Yeah. So, did you get a chance to watch any of the episodes?
No, I haven't seen anything, man. I'm kind of flying by the seat of my pants here a little bit. So,
all good. So, essentially, what I do is just to introduce yourself, and we kind of go into what makes you creatively, like your inspirations, why you picked up the guitar, why you started singing, and going from there.
Sure. Yeah, that sounds good, man. I don't know. I feel like I've done enough interviews, man, where, it's all good. I haven't been totally crushed by anybody yet. So, so yeah, man, no, I'm good, man. Whenever you want to get rolling, buddy, we can go for it, man.
All right, well, let's do it then. So I'll get you to kind of introduce yourself.
Sweet. Yeah, my name is Matt Cory, and I'm a multi-award-winning Manitoba rock and roll artist, I suppose. And I'm a guitar teacher. I've been playing music for probably close to 15 years by now, and I've been a lover of music my entire life.
So when it comes to your band, Matt Cory and the Bad Decisions, I think that's the newest friend, right?
No, there's actually no more Bad Decisions. I dumped that when I got a new lineup of guys. The Bad Decisions was the Let's Go Downtown lineup essentially, and we just thought moving forward, it made more sense to just go under my name, just with changing lineups and whatnot. So now it's just under me.
Okay, so the story behind the band's name is you.
Sorry, pardon me. What was that?
I said, so the story behind the band's name is just because it's you.
Well, the story behind the band's name is it's you. Like the Bad Decisions was a name that we had come up with to give the other guys a sense of identity. Because I mean, being a solo artist, it's kind of tough, man. A lot of the time, like early on, I got a lot of flack. It's like, well, like you have a band, like why are you just going out as you? And originally, I mean, I had written and recorded everything myself. So my philosophy was, and maybe I sound like a dickhead for this, I don't know, but why would I give somebody credit for something they didn't do? and then fast forward a few years, I had released a number of EPs under my own name. I really wanted to have sort of a band, a band that was able to collaborate and with me sort of on the same tier, and that just wasn't the case. So I kind of just, and I mean, I don't say that to sound like a jerk or anything, but it just, the bad decisions just wasn't it just wasn't meant to be. So going back to me, as just being Matt Cory, it's kind of nice because now, I can hire guys to come and play with me, and there's really no strings attached. It's actually a lot easier because I mean, I'm the main creative force behind all of my music for the most part. I mean, now actually, ironically, this current lineup that I have, I've actually been more open with them than I have in any other lineup I've ever had. Um, these guys that I play with now, Craig Metric, he's the most organized drummer I've ever met. He's probably the most organized musician I've ever met. Incredibly talented, very level-headed, a results-oriented kind of guy, and a very well methodical guy. Like, this is kind of how he approaches music, and I really admire that. He has the ability to put the music first, and I've played with people that don't always have that ability to put the music first. And again, I'm not knocking anybody or anything, but it's just ironically, now that it's back to being Matt Cory as a solo band, I'm actually more open to collaborating with the guys than I probably ever have been. I should also mention this as well, is that it was actually the band that suggested that I go back to just being Matt Cory. It wasn't even my idea. I totally understood why, and logistically, it just made way more sense instead of having the Bad Decision name. The Bad Decisions was a band, and I mean, we had a lot of really good shows. We were busy, man. We did a lot of stuff all over Westman kind of thing in Winnipeg and whatnot. But it just wasn't meant to be. And I also didn't want the Bad Decisions to be just a revolving door of guys that were called the Bad Decisions. To me, it just didn't really jive, like, and I do that, one, because out of respect for that lineup, because that was a great time, man. I had a lot of really, really happy memories with those guys. But things change, and I just didn't. It'd be like having the Heartbreakers with Tom Petty, and having a bunch of different Heartbreakers roll through the band. You know what I mean? It just, to me, it just doesn't. It just doesn't fit. Yeah, I mean, and like I said, man, I'm not trying to knock anybody or be disrespectful to any of the old players. I mean, man, I'm very grateful that they took the time to learn the music and give their best to what they that they had to offer, and it was great for a really long time. But it bands evolve, and luckily for me, I've set myself up where I kind of am the band in a lot of ways. Not so much now, but like I kind of mentioned, like every release I've ever done up until Dust, actually, the last single I had put out, everything before that was me. It was done by me. Like, the odd thing would, someone would come in and add, some parts, or they'd come and play bass, or they'd, whatever. They might play a guitar solo or something. But, for the most part, it was all me, and I kind of liked it that way, I guess.
Good. Yeah. So then, are you just sticking with the rock and roll genre, or are you still doing metal?
Well, it all depends on how you define metal. I mean, Poison and Cannibal Corpse are both metal, right? So, in
True
some
enough,
way,
you know.
shape, or form. I guess it depends on the listener. Some people would say that what I do is considered to be heavy metal. I consider it to be hard rock myself. I think that's where my strengths are. And I mean, I go out and do acoustic shows and whatnot where we kind of throw a whole bunch of different songs into the mix. Like, the last show we did, man, we did everything from Chris Stapleton to Backstreet Boys, you know what I mean? But when you come to an electric show, you're gonna get something very similar to the actual music that I have available on streaming sites and stuff. So yeah,
Awesome.
yeah, man.
So when it comes to the band, you're performing, doing it.
Sorry, you were kind of cutting in and out there. What was that?
So when it comes to Matt Cory,
Yeah.
you play your actual full electric, full band setup. What's your position?
My position? I'm the singer and guitar player.
Singer and guitar player. So then with that, you walk us through a month of being your creative self.
I'm sorry, man. It's really I'm getting like every second word you're saying.
Okay. So can you walk us through a month of being your creative self?
Can I walk you through a month of
Being your creative self.
Oh, being my creative self. Well, I'm very manic. When it comes to the creative process for me, you know, when it comes to teaching and whatnot, I mean, I play guitar like 5, 6 hours a day, uh, you know, 4 or 5 days a week, give or take a little bit. When I am being creative, it happens in spurts. So, for me, when I have intentions on recording an album or an EP, I should say, I will write like 10 songs in like 4 days, and sometimes what'll happen is uh, I'll basically exclusively stick to one side of it, whether it's the music or I might just stick to the vocals and the lyrics. But I usually do them separately. So, for me, with this upcoming EP that I'm working on, I literally wrote those tracks in 2 days. I wrote 5 songs in 2 days, and it was very, very, very quick. And I like to do it that way because I like when you can ride the wave, right? And it's literally capturing a moment. And that was entirely what I was trying to do. Creativity is an interesting thing, man, because sometimes if you try to force it, a lot of the time it's not going to work, but sometimes I've found that if I do force it and I trust the process, I might record something and not like it while I'm doing it. And then I have to like finish it and let it sit for a few days and then come back to it with sort of a fresh set of ears. And then I can sort of decide if I really like it or not. But as far as creativity goes, I feel like for me I've kind of learned how to channel it like a light switch. I've become pretty good at turning it on and turning it off. um you know Especially within the last year, it's been I just kind of know how to know how to turn it on.
Good.
Yeah.
So we'll kind of dip to your history a bit. Who inspired you to make music to begin with?
Well, honestly, man, probably the guys I was in my first band with in high school, man. Like we were too bad to play covers, so we just decided to make our own stuff because we couldn't play anything else. Um, when I think back to those days, that was like Cody Thompson, Cameron Rice, Paul Johnston, we got together and man, we played four chords, dude, and it was like the heavens split. We all of a sudden we had this really good idea of what we wanted to do. And for me personally, don't get me wrong, I love playing covers and stuff, but my heart is in creating my own stuff. I'm also one of these guys where when it comes to music, I'm a fan, right? Like, so for me, like when I get into a band, I like study their discography and I understand sort of the peaks and valleys of a band and the ups and downs and the lineup changes and whatnot. And so for me, like when I started creating my own stuff, I kind of had the idea that I was going to build a discography of my own, and a lot of the artists that I really like have quite large discographies that sort of vary a little bit, whether it's if you look at a guy like whatever, Ozzy Osbourne, for example, like that's a guy who, like, man, he helped create heavy metal with Sabbath and everything, and he did those 8 albums, I believe it is, and then he goes solo in the 80s, and it's interesting how, like, for me, I look at artists like that and how they change with the times, and I wanted to be that. Um, I wanted to build this discography and be able to look back on it and be like, yeah, that was the mindset I was in at that time, and I've always really enjoyed that. So, as far as writing my own songs, it was just, the guys I grew up with, and it was like, yeah, man, let's be rock stars and take over the world, and that became my drive. As far as covers go, I learned covers because it was sort of a necessary thing. I really had no interest in learning covers because it's not like that's somebody else's song. I want to play my song. I want to tell my story. I want to see if I can fine tune my craft where if I'm playing on stage, like I want to see if somebody's going to sing the song back to me, and it's not about like it's not about ego or anything like that. It's literally about spreading the love, man, and like it's literally about like creating something that we can both connect with. That's what I really enjoy about this. I've always, and maybe this sounds like an asshole thing to say, but I've met more musicians that I could count, and it's interesting because every musician seems to have sort of a different motive for what they do. And I've seen musicians who want to be entertainers, and I've seen musicians that enjoy the sort of the math of creating music. I've seen really eccentric musicians that can't even play like 2 chords, but they have so much to say and they pour their heart and souls into what they do. And I mean, at the end of the day, none of them are wrong, and it's all good, and like everybody has their own perspective, and it's a beautiful thing, So like creativity for me, it's everything. I love it, and I will never ever stop creating. If I couldn't create, I probably wouldn't play guitar, man. Yeah.
So with those guys, the same reason you picked up the guitar?
You know, when I was a kid, my grandmother bought me an acoustic guitar, for me to learn. She was a piano teacher, and I tried to play it, and I sucked at it, and I got really mad because I didn't get it right away, and I wasn't old enough to understand that I had to put work into it. And then later on, my dad used to subscribe to Columbia House, and we would get CDs and stuff. That's all right. Columbia House is a great time, man. And my dad actually, at the time, he was really into the G3 album that had came out in 96 or 97. It featured Joe Satriani, Steve Vai, and Eric Johnson. And I remember him talking about how good it was. And so one night, I was just by myself, and I took his Walkman and I put my put his headphones in and I listened to this album to see what he was talking about. And it was amazing, man. You know, instrumental guitar music, right? What a weird way to get into music. And from there, man, it was just, like it was like, holy shit, I need to try this again. So I went and found this crappy acoustic guitar that I had been collecting dust for a few years. And I told my friends that I kind of wanted to start playing, and we were looking at songs to learn just to get started. And Come As You Are was one of the very first riffs I ever learned how to play. And I remember my friend suggested it, and I actually said to them, that riff you need to play two strings. Are you crazy? I can't play two strings, And and then from there, my parents got me into lessons at Ted Good Music, and I took lessons from 3 different teachers over 5 years. And I really caught the bug, and then once I was at a certain level where I thought I was good enough to play with people, I got together with my buddies in high school. We got, we had me on guitar. We had the other guy played guitar. We had a bassist and a drummer, and we got together in buddy's basement. And we made some noise, and it was literally like one of the greatest moments of my entire life. Like we didn't know what we were doing. We had no idea. But like all of a sudden, it was like, oh man, like this is it. Like when everything kind of locks in, even if it was for like 10 seconds, which I'm sure it probably was, all of a sudden it was like, wow, man, like this is it. This is what I want to do. And so that's kind of how I got into it, I would say. But yeah.
Sweet. No, it's kind of that raw into it.
Yeah.
So the music how would you describe it to someone who's never heard it?
Well, in a lot of ways, it sort of depends on the EP that you're looking at. Ghost Rising is what I would say is just balls out hard rock. It's pretty angry. Let's Go Downtown is my 70s rock EP that is meant to be fun and kind of silly, and it doesn't take itself too seriously. The newer music that I'm making now, I would say, certainly lends itself to some of the guys of the early 90s kind of grunge scene. I wouldn't say that my music is grunge per se, but there are certain leanings into that. And I just like it. I love how heavy and dirty it is, I said to somebody not too long ago, like when you look at Seattle and how, it's kind of like dark and gray and depressing and everything else. I think it was like fall, and here I am in Brandon, and I was like, man, this kind of reminds me of Seattle, And I mean, I love Brandon, don't get me wrong. It just so happened to be that day where it was like, wow, it's kind of dark and gloomy out. And I was like, this seems to kind of make sense.
So then if you could collaborate with any artist in Manitoba, who would you do?
Well, actually, this is kind of interesting. I would love to collaborate with Dave McNabb again. Dave McNabb, he is half of an EDM band called Ash Halo. And Dave actually was kind enough to take on one of my songs, and before it was released, called Ghost Rising, and he turned the song into. Originally, I had written a song for it, and it really sounded kind of like this, like melancholy, like gothic rock anthem kind of thing, somewhere between Ghost and Hymn, And he turned it into this like EDM stripper song, and I'm loving it, And it's great, and that's and it just so happens that I ran into him last night, and we're already talking about collaborating again. And it was really funny when I asked him, I was like, dude, we should do another song together, man. That would be friggin' cool. And he's like, yeah, man, I want your heaviest stuff. I was like, okay, well, I'll see what I can find. I've got some thrashy stuff kicking around, and so he would be one of the guys that I've he has a depth to his musical knowledge that when it comes to working in a studio that I really, really appreciate. He's really good at creating sonic textures, meaning like the little whooshes and the little, these things that help elevate the song to a whole nother level that I often forget about while I'm writing my own stuff. But he to me is certainly somebody that we come from two totally different schools of thought, but we work really, really well together. And so he's somebody that I'm really looking forward to working with again.
Well, definitely sounds like there.
Yeah.
If you could open a show artist in Manitoba, who do you want to open?
Yeah, the Castangs, they're sweet. I love those guys. They're fun. They the keyboardist Emily is actually dating my cousin, and so we've kind of got some connections. And every time I meet up with those guys and we get chatting music, we just geek out and like go like down the rabbit hole of stuff. And I love their vibe. It's Nirvana meets Cheap Trick. Does my music match theirs? Not at all, but that's what makes it kind of fun, right? There's this, they're they are very eccentric and total pros with what they do. And I appreciate that so much. And I would love to be on a bill with them again. I think I played a show with them once, like a really long time ago, but I might be mistaken by that as well. But great dudes in that band though. Well, and gals for sure. Great dude and girls.
Yeah. Phil's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So if you could give one message to your fans, what would you say?
Thanks for listening. Thank you for taking the time to check out what I have to offer. This music, this is why I exist, man. Like I'm very grateful for every single person that takes the time out of their day to see if my music's any good. So thank you. That's what I would say.
Okay. So what I like to do at those weird, never really come across questions.
Sure.
I know it's a few of the guys that are.
Okay.
But for a musician, what is the most talent you have?
Oh, I don't know, picking my nose. Let's see. Yeah, right. So I'll be like, tapping and picking my nose. As far as non-musical stuff, you said?
Yeah, the most useless talent.
Useless talent. Well, I have a wealth of wrestling knowledge. I really enjoy the history of wrestling. I find it to be super interesting. The different eras, very much like music. The only difference is they're all like, their egos are even bigger and they're all on steroids, which makes it even funnier to me. I don't know if I'd call that a talent. Maybe I have too much free time, but that would certainly be something that I would probably list.
So, if you weren't doing music, right? What would you be doing?
Nothing. I'd be dead. I honestly, man, and I mean, everybody's gonna say, well, I don't know. Like, I have a business degree. I went to business school, and I tried to do that, like business, like not related to music, and it wasn't for me. Music is my heart and my soul. I mean, I literally have it on my sleeves, man. Like it is my entire basis of my existence. I've actually had I've had a few people in my life ask me that. What else do you do other than music? And it's like, I don't know. Like I literally don't have an answer to that, man. I knew that at some point, like I would be doing music stuff, whether it was being a full out touring musician, working in a music store, which I did for a decade. And now I run my own music lesson business, and I work with people who are learning how to fine tune their craft every day, man. And it's the greatest job in the world. There's nothing that gives me the fulfillment of music, that's for sure. I couldn't see it, man. Like I honestly I don't have I don't know what I could say.
So, out of everywhere you performed, where was the coolest place?
Um, the coolest place I've ever performed.
Yeah.
Well, there's a couple of them. It was pretty sweet to perform at the Pyramid in Winnipeg. And the reason being is that I was there not too long ago watching one of my heroes on stage, rocking out, being cool and everything. And then I got to stand in the same spot. And I thought, wow. And I'm looking down and I was like, man, like I was in the same spot as that guy, So that was pretty cool. One of the other ones in that I've been I told somebody this story the other day, Country Fest in Dauphin. Uh, this was a number of years ago. Ironically, I was playing in a cover band, and I was playing an original song, my original song in the cover band. Actually, now that I think about it, and this song really needed the G string a lot, and I broke my G string. And so I will never forget, man. I break the string and I look over to the side of the stage, and there's a tech on the side of the stage, and I'm like, "Here, dude, like I'm in trouble." And he comes and he's like, "Come here, come here." And so song is still going, and he takes the guitar off me, puts another one on me, and I go back out on stage as if nothing really happened. And as I'm playing that song, I look over and the tech is restringing my guitar for me. And by the time the song was finished, I was back on with my old guitar, and everything was all good. Country Fest is so good because the fans are so nuts. Everybody that goes to Country Fest is wild, man, and I enjoy the energy of that place, man, because everyone is there to just unleash. And and I'm excited to be heading back there as well. We're scheduled to be playing there uh, in the next little while, like the upcoming Country Fest, and it's going to be great to go back, man. And I'm really looking forward to it.
Awesome. So, do you have any favorite venues?
It depends on who's running sound. That's me being a jerk, but the Tap House in Winnipeg has been really good to me over the years. The North 40 in Brandon has been really, really good to me. Um, actually, like back in the day, I mean, I don't know if they're still doing live music, but the Decker in Brandon, man, we played there so much, man. I would like to think that I learned how to be a lead singer by cutting my teeth at the Decker doing these acoustic shows. Um, they've been really good. Any of the festivals, man, they always treat me really nice. They treat the band really good. But like I said, man, as long as there's a good sound man that knows what he's doing, then hey, man, I'll play anywhere.
Yes. So, what's your next
Upcoming what, sorry?
show?
What do we have? We are going to be heading into Winnipeg to perform at the Assiniboia Downs for Ribfest on June 1st, I believe.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I've never played there before, so I'm quite excited. And I've actually, just been kind of writing up the set list and stuff today, actually, just to make sure that we've got all our ducks in a row, and we're starting rehearsals for it in a few days, and I'm really excited about that one. The Ribfest people are great to work with, man. I worked with them a few years ago when they were in Brandon, and we, Brandon got hit with a big snowstorm the first day, and it really sucked for everybody. But we managed to pull it together the next couple of days, and we had a lot of fun. The organizers of that, awesome people.
Good. So we're kind of gonna jump all over the place here.
Yeah, man.
So then how do you feel the internet impacted music business?
Well, I mean, my music, for me personally, I mean, the internet's a wonderful thing. I mean, I get streams all over the world, in countries I've never even heard of, because of the internet and because of streaming. I think that's a wonderful thing. One of the negatives is that because of the internet and social media, we don't have a definitive musical culture anymore, because the distribution channels have broadened so much. Back in the day, I mean, you had physical albums that you would go buy at the store. You had MTV, you had the radio, and you had word of mouth, more or less. I'm sure I'm forgetting a few other ways to access music, but now, I mean, you've got a plethora of different streaming platforms that you can find music on, and that's a great thing because it gives people who wouldn't have had the means to get their music out. It gives them a place where they can put their music, on streaming platforms, which is a great thing. But the negative side of it is that there's just so much of everything, and I don't think we'll ever see the cultural impact that we've seen in the past from a specific genre or era. If you look back, I mean, like whatever that we were talking about grunge earlier, the grunge era, man, that'll never happen ever again. There will never be another Nirvana because the distribution channels are just so wide and they vary so much. But overall, though, the internet has given a ton of people a voice that wouldn't have had the opportunity years ago. And depending on how you view music, that's a beautiful thing. I think that there's some stuff out there that's incredible that we've never even heard of. We just have to go searching for it, right? So if I want to go find out what's going on in the music scene in Argentina, I can do that. You know what I mean? And that's an incredible thing.
Oh, it was interesting because I'm talking with Joel Emerson.
Yep.
And he was telling me about Valley Narrow. actually Icelandic people listening to them.
Yeah, man. It's wild, right?
Yeah.
It's a great thing. I think that, I mean, and who knows, man, like honestly, like as far as streaming goes, I get more plays everywhere else other than Canada. Canada doesn't like my music, but the States does, and Europe does, particularly Eastern Europe. They really like Finland and places like that, actually Asia as well, which is quite interesting. I always laugh when it's like I see Canada so far down on the list. I don't really buy into the Canadiana thing. I think it's kind of lame myself, but that's just my opinion. That again probably makes me look like a huge jerk, but I don't know, man. I've always thought Canadiana is just not. Yeah, I'm just not interested in it. I live it, and I don't want to sing about it because I see it all the time. So that's my argument for that anyway, but.
So, which famous musicians do you admire?
Well, Alice Cooper, I always have. I'm a diehard Alice Cooper fan. I mean, the last tattoo I got was his eyes. And, what's been really interesting for me with my love for that guy is that as a kid, I loved him because he was spooky and freaky, and he was writing these songs about, whatever, spiders and snakes and whatever, you name it. And then as I got older, I started to appreciate him for being able to just not stop, and always go out and deliver an excellent show. I think he's 77 years old now. And I mean, man, that guy, like, like he still kills it, man, So now, as a musician and somebody who has some sort of understanding of how the machine works to a certain extent, and I mean, I'm not claiming to be a pro or anything, but I admire him now for his work ethic and his ability to consistently deliver an unreal live show. I love that about him. Some of my other heroes, I would say, Jerry Cantrell would be another one from Alice in Chains. He's not necessarily a shredder or anything like that, but he delivers ass whooping rock, man, and it's heavy and it's sludgy. And, as far as I'm aware of, he's never really strayed away from who he is. And I really, really, really admire that when I meet an artist who, and whether it's a local guy who's doing what they're doing, or if it's somebody really big who's always tried to be themselves among, the wild jungle that is the music world today. I've always really appreciated him. Um, who else do I really admire? I would I would throw Richard Patrick in there from Filter. Saw them last night in Winnipeg. It was a great show. If you go on Filter's Instagram and the one that says "Thank you Winnipeg," you'll see me and my girlfriend waving, and he points at me because I have a Filter tattoo, which is quite fun. But I really admire Richard Patrick because he's another guy that, as far as I know anyway, has always stuck to his guns, and he's an excellent singer. And he's very honest, and he kind of has a take it or leave it attitude, and I think I really appreciate that. What I look for, man, in modern music is I want to find the guys that I deem to be authentic, and music is a business, and I really don't like music that feels contrived and feels forced to, sell tickets or to get streams or whatever. I just don't care about that stuff, man. I feel that, as an artist myself, I've been able to sort of pick up on what's authentic and what isn't, and maybe I'm completely wrong. I very well could be, but I like to think that I have a pretty good ear for what's real and what's not. And I'm not saying that the artists that I named, that everything that they do is 100% genuine, because I'm sure it's not. But I have a really hard time getting into bands where, like, it's like, oh man, like this is the glorified pop single, speaking of that, actually, an artist that I really admire is Robert Fripp from King Crimson. Speaking of a guy who's, he definitely has always sort of stuck to his guns, and there's nothing about him that is commercial at all. But I also really admire him, his unorthodox guitar playing that is absolutely, completely mind-boggling. I really appreciate the depth that he goes into when discussing what music is and what it's supposed to do for you. He actually made me look at music in a completely different way, in terms of how it's supposed to make you feel and how it's supposed to inspire you and how it can drive you to do bigger and better things if you let it. He's certainly a guy I admire. In today's musical landscape, I really admire Tobias Forge from Ghost. In my opinion, I think he's the best songwriter in the rock world out there today. I don't even know anyone who can even touch him. They just released a new album, and I think it's really, really good. The last song on it, man, first time I heard it, I bawled my eyes out like a little baby. It was awesome. It was so good. So I really, really, really admire Tobias Forge as well.
I'll have to definitely check it out.
Yeah.
So when it comes to your years in the industry, what's the best advice you've ever been given?
Well, off the top of my head, a guy named Chris Nakanechny gave me some of the best advice to get over stage fright. And I tell everybody this story because it's absolutely brilliant and it makes perfect sense. Uh, I used to have like absolute just awful stage fright, like getting the shakes and everything, and you can't play, and you're freaking out, and I mean, and I go through bouts with it where some days I'm like really good with it, it doesn't matter, and then other days for some reason I'll just get all wigged out for whatever. But he told me one time, I asked him, how do I get past stage fright? I mean, he's a pretty prominent player in the Manitoba country music scene. And he said to me one time, he's like, Matt, like, what are you so worried about? And I was like, well, man, like, I don't want to like look like an idiot or say the wrong thing or whatever. And he said to me, he's like, Matt, the people that are there to have a good time with you. They didn't go there to boo you. They want you to succeed. They want you to provide the best entertainment that you possibly can. Um, they they're not there to for you to suck. Like that would be crazy. Like why would you pay money to go see somebody who's terrible? Like knowing that they're terrible. You know what I mean? So I took that advice, and I remember the next show that I had played after that. I remember looking at the crowd and being like, wait a minute, like I'm like a lightning rod, channeling a good time on a Friday night or whatever, and all of these people are here to enjoy themselves. And it's not about, serving my ego or something like that. Like I said, I am the lightning rod for a positive experience. And I've always kept that with me. And I mean, now, like I said, I very rarely do I get stage fright anymore because I know what my job and my role is. I'm here to entertain and provide a good time.
Well, that's a good way to kind of go about it.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to any youth or anyone just wanting to get started?
Well, it takes work, and it takes being honest with yourself, and being able to look within and truly look within and be able to criticize yourself, and not in a shame spiral kind of way, but like I always tell people when you're first getting started learning how to play an instrument or being in a band or whatever, the first question I feel you should ask yourself is, how high do you want to set the bar for yourself? Are you just wanting to get together with your buddies, once a week and drink beer and make a bunch of noise in your basement and escape from, the daily quandaries of life? Or are you looking to say something with your art? Are you looking to, take over the world? Like what is your goal? And I think that a lot of people need to just be honest with themselves and really just say like what their strengths and weaknesses are, and not get caught up and wrapped in their weaknesses. I teach this in guitar all the time, where it's like it's okay to make mistakes. It's just acknowledge it and then keep moving forward. Or like fix it and keep moving forward. Yeah.
Awesome. So kind of just like the speech I got with places.
Well, I've been told that it works, so.
So if you can change about the industry, Matt, what would you change?
How streamers are paid, or how streaming pays the artists. It's pathetic, and it's robbery, and I feel that art is not disposable. It shouldn't be disposable is probably a better way to look at it. That would be the very first thing that I would change. you know I recently had an issue with my song "Lit Up and Out of Line," and a few I don't know, maybe a month ago or whatever it was, it had hit 10,000 streams on Spotify, which was great. That's kind of a milestone, and I was celebrating it. And I was watching the numbers go up and up and up and up and up and up. Well, it turns out it was bots. I, so what happened was Spotify caught this playlist that Lit Up and Out of Line was added to, and they removed a whole bunch of my streams. And so I went from 10,000 or 11,000 or whatever it ended up at, back down to like 7. And yeah, it was pretty rough. I was pretty sad about that. But, somebody had asked me, they're like, "Oh man, what are you going to do with the money that you lost?" And I said, "Well, I don't know, man. I probably may have had enough to maybe buy a loaf of bread, like
$5.
So yeah, like I think paying artists more for their work is obviously the big one. Yeah, that would be my answer.
No, and that's a good one. That's a big topic in the industry.
Yeah. Oh, it's crazy, man. It's I mean, you can't make a living off of streaming music, man. It just doesn't work. It's impossible. Like 0.001 cent or whatever per stream or whatever. Like that's just stupid and ridiculous. I don't even know if this is true, but I heard that that Spotify, I think it was at the end of 2024, supposedly finally made a profit or something. And I don't even know if this is legit or not, but it's like, well, how are the big boss men of Spotify, living in huge mansions and all this stuff? Like, if they don't make any money, why is this business still running at all? And actually, I'll take this a step farther, is that, I feel like I have some sort of solution to this issue as well. And you can call me stupid and crazy and everything else, and that's fine. But I honestly feel that there's going to come a point, especially with the rise of AI and how that works. I don't know if you've seen how those cool vibe playlists, and it'll be really soft study music, for example. It's all created by AI. And I mean, these algorithms are picking up on this. And I think we're going to be seeing more and more and more of this coming out. And I think what's going to happen is that eventually, I'm hoping that people will actually crave to hear music generated by a human and not by a piece of software. And it's tough to say, I kind of flip-flop back and forth on this, but I think as a working musician, instead of relying on Spotify to, be sort of your main hub of how people access your music, I think that artists should be creating apps where you have all your social media, you have all your, videos from your live shows, all your content on one thing that you subscribe to for a small fee of $6.99 a month or whatever, right?
Yeah. Essentially like a OnlyFans for musicians.
Well, in some sort of way, yeah. If you think I would love to see Taylor Swift try this if she hasn't already, and see create the Swifty app, and that's where you access all her latest news. You get the music first. I think that would be very, very, very that would be a game-changing model. I mean, I haven't looked into this too deep, so take it for what it is, right? But I just feel that would be a very, very fascinating, interesting way. I mean, when I look at the artists that I love, for example, Filter, they're not a big band at all, right? I would pay $6.99 a month to get access to their latest music or their, live footage from their shows or whatever. I would pay money to get those things first. You know what I mean?
Well, that's a good idea.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's cool.
Well, on the terms of AI, actually, for the first time in a year, I got called an asshole the other night.
Uh-oh.
because I was on a like a virtual board meeting, and we're sitting there talking. This guy was sitting there, he's going, well, how's everything going on the side? And I said, well, everything's good. 3 songs in on the new album, we're piecing it together. And then he's like, yeah, well, I'm a musician. I'm like, oh, sweet. Okay, well, what do you play? And he's like, well, nothing. I just write. And I'm sitting there like, well, how can you just write to be a musician? I can get the creative side. And I said, writers are, like comic books or, graphic novels, stories.
Right.
And he's like, well, no, I take my lyrics that I write and I put them onto this website, and it generates the vocals, the guitar, the drums, the bass.
Right.
And he called me an asshole. And I said, so you're a wannabe, not an actual musician.
Yeah, and I mean that's an interesting one because unfortunately that's where it's headed, and it's interesting because it's you got to remember with the way that AI works is that AI takes what's already been done and it learns from that and it creates something based off of what you already know. Um, AI, as far as I understand, and I mean maybe I'm wrong, but like AI doesn't create new things per se. Now, what I mean by that is that um, it's not going to create new music styles that we've never even thought of before. You know what I mean? Like it as far as I understand it, it cannot do that. Um, for somebody who's, taking some words and dumping them into a program and creating, music off of it. I mean, that would be the equivalent of me saying that I'm you know, uh, a warrior, because I created a character in World of Warcraft based off of, I created an avatar based off that, you know what I mean? Like, so like, I mean, if that guy wants to say he's a musician based on plugging in some stuff into a computer, well, okay, have at her, man, go nuts. I'm not going to call you a poser or anything, but it's just, they're very different schools of thought, and the interesting thing with that too though is that that's, in my opinion anyway, has always been around. If you take, for example, a classically trained violinist and you show him some really 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 sloppy punk rock, they're not the depending on the personality of the classical player, they're either going to say, yeah, that's a very interesting way to look at music, or it's not music at all. And I mean, this is what's so fascinating with music is that it means so many different things to so many different people. And I mean, I learned this from Robert Fripp actually, is that there's a place for everything. And there's I don't know if you've ever heard the term Muzak. That's like shopping mall music, that has no heart, no soul, no originality. It's just there to serve its purpose of being background music. And I mean, is that necessary? Well, sure. Is this guy who's creating, music on his computer without having a lick of knowledge of how, chords work or something like that? Well, I mean, honestly, there is a place for that, and that's okay. The thing that makes us interesting is as humans listening to music is our ability to take what we don't understand and open our minds up to a different possibility that we don't already know. And in music, that's a big thing. A good example of this is when when I worked in the music store. My dear friend Mike Bowie, who I used to argue music with all the time, we came from two totally different schools of thought. I was more about polished music, and he was more about the authentic sort of underground, lo-fi kind of, dirty, gritty stuff that came out of like dirty basements and stuff, and
Prog rock.
what's that? Sorry,
Progressive rock.
And so for me, like when I look at, it's all music has a place, right? And if you can kind of open your mind up to a different way of creating music, well, then I mean, I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing per se. Um, you know, I'm not one of these people that, is going to sit here and be like, oh man, you didn't put in your 10,000 hours. How dare you call yourself a musician or what? Oh man, whatever. It doesn't matter, man. We're all, it goes back to what I said about how high you set the bar for yourself, right? You know, there are some incredible musicians out there that can play me under the table all day long. And, I admire and I respect these guys. And, some of them, I might not even like their music, but I can still respect what they do. But I can also respect the person who can play three chords, but when they play those three chords, man, like you can tell that there is this emotional sort of like explosion happening when they're doing that. And I think that's a beautiful thing. I see this all the time with the kids that I teach. And I think it comes down to picking a lane as well. And like I mean, for me, like in my band, I know what kind of musicians I'm looking for. Am I going to hire the guy that you were talking about, who like, type some instructions into a computer? No, like, what am I going to do with that? That's not going to help me at all. I'm going to work with the guy that has a similar sort of understanding of what music is and what it's supposed to do and how, as performers or artists, how it's supposed to be projected to the listener. I'm going to work with people that sort of look at music the same way I do. Um, there's talent everywhere we look, and the interesting thing is talent doesn't always present itself in your level of virtuosity being a virtuoso. It doesn't matter. Like look at Tom Petty, for example. That guy, he wrote very simple tunes, but man, they make you cry. You know what I mean? um but I also love the guys that can write incredibly intricate music too, and I can appreciate that as well. But I appreciate, Tom Petty just as much as I do John Petrucci from Dream Theater. I they're two completely different schools of thought, but hey man, if they make you feel something, I think that's an incredible thing. And I also look at what the motive is too. Like if your goal is to just make money and have a hit and everything else, well, I mean that comes out in the music, right? That's kind of what I was talking about earlier, where I like to think I sort of have an ear for what's genuine and what's not. I just want music to come from the heart, not from a machine, not from a person trying to make a quick buck. I just want it to come from the heart and the soul. That's what makes us human.
Well, absolutely, right? And that's kind of my thing too. It's like when I go to a show, I want to listen to having someone put their laptop up to the PA system and there's your right? Like I don't want to see that. I want to feel that bass line, that guitar kick. So like I want to feel.
Yeah, and I completely agree. I mean, one thing that kind of annoys me today, and this is just me being a dickhead, I'm sure, but like the one thing that really bothers me is when I see music that gets a big push by people who can't play it. I think that's quite entertaining. And I mean, I've gone to shows before, man, where I've had a really good time, and then I see that they're lip syncing. You know, um, and that really bothers me. It's like, man, we're being duped right now. But like, do people really care? I mean, it's tough to say. I was at a concert very recently where the lead singer, man, I couldn't believe it. He was faking it. I was so disappointed because I was having such a good time, and then I realized that he wasn't singing because the microphone would be back here, and there's no way he's getting the same power. You know what I mean? Like to get the power that was coming out of the speakers, the mic's got to be right here. Um, but kind of like I said, though, if you're hooking, your laptop in and that's your music. And I mean, and if it works and there's somebody that likes it, well, I mean, hey, all the power to them, right? Doesn't mean I have to listen to it or enjoy it. I think I have a problem when I see artists literally faking it and literally like in genres that shouldn't be faked. Modern pop music. I mean, man, like it's wild. Like I was listening to modern pop radio not too long ago, and just to give it a shot to see what was out there. And man, the amount of auto tune that was being used, it was insane. Now, I'm not auto tune is a good tool. It can be used as a cool effect on certain things. But if you're relying on it because you physically aren't able to sing whatever it is that you're trying to sing, I
Not
don't know about
exactly.
that. That's not necessarily my thing myself. I mean, I don't know who this artist was, but man, there was this line, this vocal run in this pop song where it sounded like a female's voice at the beginning, but you could hear when the keyboard auto tune thing started, like when they went from the vocal to like sounding like a keyboard. And I mean, maybe that's what the effect was supposed to be, and I just didn't get it. But like, I just kind of found that it really, I don't know. There's a lot of really cool tools out there, but I mean, I think it depends on the artist. I think it depends on the genre. Um, it I, for me personally, I enjoy artists that are real and that are authentic, not only from the creative perspective, but from their skill point of view as well. I mean, I've started to see videos on YouTube of people debunking Instagram guitar players or TikTok guitar players because they're doing these incredible things and they're faking it. It's like, really? Like, that's what this has come to? Like, and like,
The
I guess.
world's a place.
Well, it's interesting though, because you kind of have to take 2 points of view on this. Where the first one is that, okay, clearly it's fake and it's stupid and it's not real, and people are being fooled by some asshole that made a fake video of them playing guitar that wasn't even there. On the other hand, though, what are the positives that can come from that? Maybe that 12-year-old kid that saw this guy doing this incredible stuff went home and told his parents that he wants to start learning how to play guitar because he doesn't know that it's fake, right? And I think, and this is an issue that I think in the next decade we're going to be seeing more and more and more and more and more of, is what's real and what's not when it comes to the internet. How much, like, and do people care? And that's the big question is, if you hear a song, do you really care how it's made? Or do you just like it because it makes you feel good or whatever? And that's, I think, a bigger question to ask. And I also think that if it's going to go this direction, I think there should be some sort of way to tell. If you look at social media, for example, if you use their AI tools to create a post, it tells the world that what they made was with AI. I think that tool is still there, but like, I think that's actually not a bad way to do it. The scary part is, though, is that AI is continuously learning and getting better and better and better and better. And in the future, the question becomes: will humans be able to compete if the consumer or the listener doesn't care how it's made? And that's a pretty scary thought. Um, and I don't think anybody really has the answer to that either, because I mean, time will tell, I suppose.
We just gotta wait it out.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get back to this. There's only a few more, so
Oh, it's all good, man. No, I'm having a good time, man. Thanks for listening to me ramble, man. I feel like I'm kind of on a bit of a spree here. So
oh, don't worry, I do it all the time too. I'm sure my kids get annoyed. So, if you had to choose one song of yours to sell to a new potential fan base, what song would you use?
Oh, hmm.
It's always a hard one.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, it's cliche to say that all your songs are kind of like your kids, right? And so you're asking me to pick my favorite child, right? Um, you know, I would. It's a toss up between a couple. I really like Runaway. Can't hear a thing. I think that song to me really sums up what I'm about as an artist. The guitars are like relentlessly heavy. My latest electric single, Dust, is pretty heavy and like sludgy, but yet still melodic. Um, Lit Up and Out of Line as well. I mean, I think that song sums me up pretty well of who I am as an artist and what I sort of stand for. My music can be about a lot of different things. Some of it's based on reality, some of it's complete nonsense. Some of it is like based off something that was this big that I exaggerated to like great lengths, and you know, for my music, I think, as long as you're listening to it and it makes you feel something, man, that's all I care about. But I would probably have to say Runaway, I think.
Runaway? And as for picking your favorite kid, I think he's over on the floor.
Oh, yes, he is. That is my Mr. Krabs. Hey, buddy. What you doing there, buddy boy? He's just waiting.
So do you have any goals or aspirations for 2025?
Goals. Well, I want to release my next EP that's titled Hollow Sun. I'm really looking forward to getting that music out. It's interesting in my discography. Sort of the way it went was Ghost Rising came out, and it was like, holy man. My goal with Ghost Rising was to create something that was way above everything else that I had done before, and I was very angry at the time when I was recording it, and it certainly shows in the music. And that was the year that I had won a couple of awards at the Manitoba Loud Music Awards. Then I decided to sort of completely turn the other way, and I did this EP called Let's Go Downtown, which was almost the opposite of Ghost Rising in almost every way. It was lighthearted, it was fun, it was doesn't take itself too seriously. It was music you'd sit around with your buddies and drink beer to. Like that was kind of what my aspirations were with that EP. But it didn't do as well as the other one because it was a little too like goofy almost. Ghost Rising had a lot of like, it was heavy and it had a lot of attitude, and it came out in the music very authentically at the time. So Hollow Sun is sort of a return to that style of music. Lyrically speaking, it's coming from a completely different place that I've never really gone before on any release I've ever had. But my main goal is to get Hollow Sun released, and play some of the best shows I've ever done ever. I mean, that's really what my goals are, is to continue to grow and become a better artist and become more in tune with myself and what makes myself tick, as far as being sort of a musician that somebody can admire or respect or appreciate. I'm not saying that from like oh, look at me, look how cool I am or whatever. Like that's not at all what I mean. I just want to be better, be a better player, be a better, a wiser musician, make better choices, as a musician, whether that's creatively or on stage or with the people I choose to work with. As long as it's going like this, hey man, I'm okay with that. I have a beautiful girlfriend that I love very much that puts up with a lot of crap for me being an artist sort of thing. And I want to continue to teach people and inspire people to be creative and create their own music, man. Like for example, I have a kid that I'm teaching right now that's 15 years old, and he's a sponge. And this guy, he's a prodigy, to me in a lot of ways. And I'm really, really, really proud of the work that this kid has done. So, if I can inspire more people to play music, even if it's not music I enjoy, like I don't care, as long as you're doing it, and it makes you feel good, and you take it serious enough where, like I kind of said before, you can look at what your strengths and weaknesses are, and you can continue to improve. That to me is what I hope to do with music for my entire life. I'm going to continue to play shows. I'm going to continue to teach and give every ounce of my being to whoever needs it, in a musical sense, like, and I'm not trying to sound like a superhero or anything here, but I'm just saying that I want to give everything that I've acquired to anyone that wants it. You know what I mean? Because man, at the end of the day, dude, this is all about spreading the love, man. It's not about serving a low self-esteem. It's not trying to get attention or anything. Man, I'm just about spreading the love, man.
Well, that's the way it always is. Well, it should be anyway. Because we're all well. The way I put it across to like Toll and like DB and the Deadbeat, if you're familiar with them, and guys like that, even my good buddy Robert Andreas is on here too.
Okay, yeah.
And we were all talking about the most important thing, musician to musician, musician to fan, anything is that mutual love of creation that kind of defines where music goes.
Yeah, no, I would agree, man. It's I think one of the things that for some reason, and I don't know where this came from, but I mean, I had it for a number of years, is that the fact that we can get together and communicate with guitars and drums and basses and keyboards and whatever, man, like that is a beautiful thing. It shouldn't be a competition, because at the end of the day, we're all trying to do the same thing, right? Like we're literally like crazy people who are trying to express themselves. Music is not a contest, and it shouldn't be a contest. I mean, again, it depends on how high you set the bar and all that stuff. But music it's meant to be enjoyed with someone. You know what I mean? Like, even though I am a solo artist, man, I'm always working and collaborating with people, whether it's just getting their thoughts on what I'm making. It's like, hey man, like, what do you think of this? You want to come over and just listen to my new EP? It's just the demos, but tell me what you think and see if it's worth pursuing or not. Like, music is meant to be shared. It's not meant to be something that you just have by yourself. I mean, if you do, I mean, that's fine, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I just feel that the experience is better when it's shared, I guess I should say. But yeah.
Well, absolutely. No, I 110%. So for people out there, if they wanted to find your music, where could they find it?
Well, you can find me on all the streaming platforms: Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, Deezer, YouTube, Amazon Music. I'm anywhere that you can get your music. Yeah.
Do you want to talk some of your socials, even for Latin?
Sorry, what was that?
Do you want to list some of your like social media pages?
Yeah, Matt_Cory_music. You can find that. Instagram is one I'm quite busy on. Facebook as well, and TikTok.
Perfect.
Those are kind of the main ones, anyway.
and even less than a month, probably Facebook too, I would imagine. Goes through music.
You bet. Yeah. And I also have a website as well, mattcorymusic.com, that you can find a bunch of info about all of the music I've created. And you can get a hold of me if you're interested in some lessons as well. You know, I'd be more than happy to help you out. But yeah.
Awesome. Well, that's all the questions, Matt. Do you have any for me?
How's guitar going?
Good. Actually, yeah, I'm getting a little better. The other guitar in Blindside actually is classically trained.
Oh, good.
So that well, like I was telling with you, I have to physically see it.
Okay, yeah.
And then kind of do. He's very good for that. If we get going with anything, I can look right at his head. If he starts to turn, he'll actually turn it back so I can only read on what he's doing.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
And if he catches me where I'm going, oh, damn it, God, I'm getting that. He'll stand up and put his guitar up. So it's just kind of like, watch. And then he'll start playing it,
right? Nice.
But yeah, it's going really good. I just bought actually a new one that feels comfortable. I picked up a Charvel Promod.
Oh, nice. Charvels are nice, man.
Well, I sat down with it at along the blade there, and I just kind of strumming away on it. And they hooked me up into this. I'm not familiar with Fender amps. I hate. It was like a Blues Deluxe or something.
Yeah.
And then he basically just said, "Well, strum a few chords, see what you think." And just go off that like, oh, this is mine. I said, put it in that spider, and then let's see what we got. So I sat there and I started playing, some songs from like Midnight Renegade when we went a little heavier, because that's where we're leaning Blindside wise.
And I noticed the Iron Maiden fonts. I thought that was kind of fun. Did you do that on purpose?
The which?
The Iron Maiden font.
For
yeah, was that on purpose?
Yeah, that was
okay. Yeah, I thought that was pretty funny. I had a good laugh. I was like, "That's Maiden. That's funny." But
yeah, that's we were kind of sitting there like, we're all like classic rock influenced, like Motley Crue, Def Leppard, Deep Purple, Alice in Chains is a favorite of mine. And then you get into like Alter Bridge and things like that, right? So then we're like, well, we need that weird kind of vibe when it comes to building the logo and the lettering and everything. And then while we're kind of Star Wars nuts, hence the Grogu in the corner.
Nice.
so we kind of like galactic, futuristic, like plastic. And then I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh, hey. And then kind of ran that way and started working with different colors and stuff. And next thing you know, that whole did you see the Technicolor or the Chrome?
Yeah, I can't remember. It's been a while, but no, I think it was when like you first kind of put the Blindside idea out there or whatever, and I just saw the logo and I just noticed the Iron Maiden font in that. I thought it was funny. I thought it was great.
Yeah, no, and we're gonna stick. Yeah. We had a few different designs we were looking at. We really like that one. It just fits with everything.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
That's sweet, man. Right on. Happy to hear it, man.
Oh, and we'll have to drag you out to the show.
Oh, for sure, man. Let me know.
Yeah, absolutely. Will do.
Yeah.
But any other questions?
No, I don't think so. That's probably it, I think.
Okay. Awesome. Well then, we'll call her here and thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, man. It's been great, man. It's been a minute since we've chatted and stuff. So thanks for bringing me on today. And I mean, listening to me rant and ramble about music stuff, man. It's a good time.
Oh, it's all fun and games, man.
You bet, man. Awesome.
All right.
Awesome.
All right. Well, have a good night, Matt. Talk soon.
You too, man. Thanks a lot, man. And yeah, we'll see you around.
Yeah.